I can show you a quick little trick that Jen just loves. It's the
Is that the one where you get your credit card out and buy dinner?
No, she doesn't let me do that one too much. I'm not supposed to spend money. Okay. How many pixels do you need to make a good gradient? Yep. Just waiting for this to quit. Make a little box here. Open Viper, render that. So now Viper's got something to show me. Gonna load a little image here, and I mean a little image. Content folders, images. And that was in gradients. One of the problems is collecting stuff from different content directories, and I now have 3 gradient folders. Yeah. I'm going to grab this little BW TIFF. I'm going to go to my image editor. This is a 2x1 pixel image. So that's 2 pixels. There's a nice gradient based on that thing with pixel blending turned on. I'm going to automatic size it to that cube. Turn pixel blending back on. Now since I've automatically sized that thing, the way pixel blending works is it blends one pixel into the next one based on the center of the pixel. So in this case, I have like a black pixel. Well, the center is there, so that'd be black, and it'll blend across the border to white in the next one. So where the pixels meet would be a 50% gray, which is what you're seeing here. There's the center of the pixel is black, the center of the next pixel that's white, and the 50% gray would be right there. You have to turn it off. Yeah, there's the border.
Is that better than using a gradient?
Well, it saves a lot of memory. Because I'm only loading up 2 pixels.
Okay.
So I can use this thing to do any gradient, for whatever range. And it's going to be, a floating point because it's being calculated at render time. So if I want this thing to go from black to white here, I just double my range here, because I only want the range from the center here to here, which is basically 1 pixel width. So I want 4. And there's my nice smooth gradient.
What is that border around it?
The border?
Yeah, I see a sort of a whitish border.
Oh, that looks like image enhancement on the projector. Yeah, it's a pixel. Yeah, it's not here.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you see it all over the labels too.
Right.
It's like,
right.
yeah.
Like a little bit of ringing.
Yeah. So just thought that would be an interesting thing to show off. Jen just loves that. You can do a nice smooth gradient with 2 pixels.
That's called economy.
Yeah. And of course you can go into a gradient, use previous layer, and make all kinds of neat colors based on those.
Since that's basically procedural, how much memory is that taking up?
Well, let's look at the image editor again. Memory use 0K.
No, but when you go to the actual scene statistics for the entire scene, and you go back
Yeah. object memory 2K.
Right.
I don't even see the image is 1, but it doesn't say how much it's using. But it's not doing anything really. It's like anytime you use an image that has pixel blending on anyway, it's figuring that out at render time. It's not making a new image out of that. What does make a new image is when you use mipmap settings, because that actually creates, like it'll take if you say have an 8-color image, like you can do with an IFF. As soon as you use mip mapping, it actually pads that thing out to 24 bits and then makes smaller versions of those images that, for all the mip maps. So
Usually turn pixel blending off if you're using image maps, right?
I leave it on most of the time. Yep. What I usually turn off is the mip mapping, because that will take more memory. And when we're working on roughnecks, you sit there and watch it sit there for 5 minutes while it makes all the mip maps from all the different textures, and you watch your memory just keep climbing and climbing, and it's like, yeah, okay, let's turn that off. And it's like, well, if you, with the new anti-aliasing you've got in LightWave anyway, it's like, there's no point in having the mip maps most of the time. So I almost always turn all that stuff off and just render it normally. But that's a very nice smooth gradient, and if I turn off the, let's like make that luminous first. Okay, so it's not being affected by anything else. But you look at the values up here, they're floating point values. So you got like 50.42%, 51.58, 51.52. So you're getting a full range of shading in there. But zoom in on that gradient. You don't see it breaking down into any bands at all like you will with a regular image map. That's all very smooth transitions. Okay, so how many pixels does it take to do a spectrum?
What?
How many pixels do you need to make a spectrum?
3.
Not quite. Show you a little trick. Of course, this really only works if you have the IFW textures, because they've got gradients. Spectrum. Plug that in here. There it is.
You cheat.
Yeah, but I can take that image I was just using. Say,
Find it.
yeah, problem with the image nodes is everything's upside down from the layers. So I keep looking for my UV mapping here, and it's like, no, that's down here. It's all backwards. So let's put that over here. Automatic size, that was 4. So there's my same gradient again. I'm going to take the luma from this thing. I'm going to put it on the in. Now I've got it going sideways. And I can also adjust the spread so I can have less of it, more of it. But yeah, as for the actual number of colors, I think it's 7. Let's just load up there we go. No, I got 12 colors there, but I've got, I think the first 2 are repeating. Gonna put them in there. Automatic size. Turn off the mip mapping. So there's the original pixels and blended together. The only problem with pixel blending is it will take the color from the edge on one edge and bring it across. And you'll see that on things like spheres. If you have like white edge up here, well, it'll bleed across to the bottom. So at your south pole of your sphere, you're going to have a white dot, and you'll also have a dot from the bottom of this thing on the top of the ball. So that's the only time pixel blending comes in hand, becomes a pain. But in those cases, like if you're doing a spherical map, way to solve that is go into your spherical settings, and well, I'll do it here. Actually, let me just load a ball to this thing simpler. Yep, you're going to see the ball and check scene again. Okay. Load image, spectrum. Should load another image here. There it is. And that's just doing a planar map, but it's doing the same thing. That it's automatically sized, but it's getting the black color from the top. I'll do a spherical map, y-axis. Okay, don't see that. Let's rotate that ball. There's the dot. Now, the higher the resolution the image you're using, the smaller the dot's going to be, because it's it's not blending over a wider range.
Why is it wrapping around like that?
It's just the way pixel blending works. Like there's a very tiny dot right there. Okay, there it is. Because it needs something to blend with at the edge, and a lot of times you're going to be tiling your images, so it makes sense to blend it with the opposite side. The only problem is it doesn't work when you're doing spherical mapping or anything where you have completely different edges. So when you're doing something like a globe, like the Earth, it works fine because you got snow at the top and bottom. Unless you decide to do a map of the Earth that doesn't have any ice, then you have water at the top. And you're going to get a little bit of white from the snow on Antarctica at the North Pole and a bit of water on the South Pole. Oh, let's see. Got a few other nice little gradients in the IFW textures. One of them's called Black Body. Pull Viper again. And this thing, you actually need to give it some kind of input. I do turbulence. Take the alpha from that, put it in here. And this is basically lighting this thing up or shading it based on temperature. Let's make this a bit smaller. That's better. I've actually used this for doing lava. Got a couple settings. Say what the maximum temperature is. And this thing's basically doing the same thing that Jovian does when you use the Kelvin scale. Just taking that color map and throwing it up here. So all the shades are the same. But if you need like a nice transition between one color and the other one, have them accurate, the black body is pretty much the way to go. So I can specify what my maximum color is here, and that's going to be, the hotter it is, the more blue it's going to be. Let's take that out. So that's extremely blue. Let's bring this back down. And I'm getting down to cooler temperatures, which look hotter. So you want to do some like nice lava stuff. This is the node for doing that. You can make it brighter or darker using the exposure setting. You can set your minimum temperature. And with a little bit of playing around, you get a nice lava surface like that. So I didn't pick any of these colors. This is just the black body doing its work. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, it doesn't play too well through Dropbox. There we go. So that's using mainly turbulence and some crackle textures to control the black body gradient. And I animate a couple textures moving up and down. It wobbles the edges of the textures a bit more. So it gives them a little more of a fluid look. So if I held the camera over any one spot long enough, you'll see like this whole edge just constantly, distorts and changes over time. So it makes it look like, some the textures or some of the surfaces mixing in with lower layers. And those waves are all procedural too.
On this scene right here,
Mm-hmm.
one thing to me that jumps out and doesn't look right is, in having watched lava, like Hawaii and stuff,
Yeah.
the darker black areas would move less.
Yeah.
They would be more rigid. Could you take this same surface and apply that somehow to, say, decrease movement in those areas?
It takes some time, but yeah. Yeah, it's like the actual displacements are being done by two different crumple textures moving in opposite directions.
Right.
The large waves in here are actually being done by turbulence.
Right.
And then these two waves moving across are actually two more turbulence textures following a null, and they both have fall off. So I can actually control the speed of these two very specific waves moving across. So I can actually take this crackle texture that's making the dark spots and apply that on everything and have it move even less.
I like how the eruption happens sort of hidden and out of view.
Yeah.
It takes you a while to see. It's like it's a good payoff. It's like, where's that coming from? And then,
Yeah. This is actually Kepler. Doo-doo. Doo-doo. So those are the easy shots because I already had the model and got to fly around it and look at it some more. And yes, I built every solar panel on there.
That lens flare brought it all back for me.
Yeah.
Remember when lens flares came out?
Oh yeah.
I put in every single one of my animations. It's the greatest.
I had a business card with over 350 of them. They formed my logo.
Okay.
Hey, it was good.
It was a cool animation too. But yeah, I always modify the lens flares. Like you notice there's a hell of a lot of elements in there, and you got rainbows. So that's not the default lens flare. You have to go in, say, oh, I want 40 elements, or I think I had 64 in this.
It's a complex lens.
Yep. So anytime you see it in a real lens, you get a lot more, little spots in there than you do with the standard lens flare in LightWave, because it's only got 16 elements by default. So you have to go into the scene editor and say, well, I want more than that. And show you how to set that up. Just clear a scene, take a light. Okay, move the light to 0, 0, 0. OpenGL lens flares, I want this to be black. Lights. Like that 100%. Turn on reflections. So there's the standard LightWave lens flare. It's okay, but everybody uses it. So one thing I'll do is change the sides. Now, these the sides don't show up in the OpenGL. You actually have to do a render to see what they're doing. And I like to say around 7 or 8. Turn off that outer red glow. Don't like that central ring. But then you be able to do anything with these elements, you first have to move one. So you just pick any one of these 16 elements. Because before that, I'm going to save the scene. Save scene as lens flares. Now I'll go pull up that same file. Okay, there's basically the empty scene, and there's nothing in there about lens flares.
Did you move the element?
Not yet, but there's where the lens flare information is going to go. It's telling me what the shape is right there. And that's like right before the camera is added. So I'll close that. Now I'm going to move the element. See, moving that little faint ghosty guy right there. I'll pick another one that's a little bit brighter. There we go. Move one of those blue guys. Make him a little bit smaller. Going to save the scene again. Now we've got all this. Here's the magic number here. I'm going to make that, say, 86. And save that. I'll just load that scene again. Now I've got all these guys. Now all these new ones are all going to be zeroed out. So you have to...
You gotta move each one?
What's that?
You have to move each one?
Yep. And it'd be nice to be able to do that.
That's what interns are for.
Yeah. There's the...
Do something exciting
Yeah, yeah. Like they're when they're at 0,
Probably use
that's centered. Negative values are away from the light. Positive values closer to it. So you just bring them up there. Keep you can make them super bright just by making them a bright color. Go to the next guy.
Don't you have to Doppler shift to them or something like that?
You can save that information out for later, right?
Yeah, you save the scene. So I've actually got scenes set up where I've got different lens elements. So I go into, let's pull up one of those Kepler shots.
There's not a setting? There's just
Not
a
yet.
lot of lens
There's not even a setting to say how many lens elements you want. It's like, they added the thing where you can actually do this. And this is actually in LightWave, 6, 7, and 8, where you can actually go into the scene editor and you could double it or quadruple the number. It always had to be like a multiple, but only up to like 96. After that, it would crash. So I reported that as a crash, and it's like, wait a minute, you're reporting a crash of doing something you're not supposed to do? It's like, well, is it supposed to crash for doing that? But yeah, it's like, I changed the number, I load the scene up, and I notice, hey, I've got all these. So I, end up making that a feature request, and they got it now, so it'll handle up to 256 lens elements. I haven't gone that high yet, but they forgot to add the button to say how many you want. And the only way to do it is you have to first modify one of these things, save the scene, then you get that little block of text that you can modify. So I go into, let's see, NASA scenes. Loaders. Don't have one there. Okay, let's go back to the Planet Hunters shots. Go into this file. And there's my elements that I did for that one shot. So I just copy this whole block of text. It's easy to find. It's right before add camera. So I'll do that. Go back to documents. My lens flare is here. Save that.
It's a shame somebody hasn't created a plugin for that.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
There's recalculate all the colors and everything for you. Add all the goodies for
And there they are.
It's more like tracer fire.
Yeah, so I manually put in a few little rainbows in here.
Yeah, cool.
You see those in a lot of lens reflections.
Or, maybe
More rainbows.
maybe it's me, but aren't you supposed to have sort of like a Doppler effect when you do something like that?
Oh, it's just reflections in the lens, so it depends on the coatings in the lens, really.
That's right, you're just bouncing off the lens space.
Now, what I'd like to be able to do is jitter the positions of these things, off center, because you see that in a lot of lenses too.
Yeah, they're never perfect.
Look at the lens flare now. What camera was that used to take that lens flare?
And move it way off.
Oh well.
Now you're testifying.
Yeah. Yeah, once you got one, you can still sit there and modify things, save it in another scene, so you got another block of that stuff, and just, name them whatever you want. So I've got, I think, 2 or 3 that I set up for these shows.
Are the little rainbow effect?
It's about 6 soft spheres, all put together with different colors. So it'd be nice to be able to rename the elements. Nope. Okay, that's part of a rainbow there, I think. Find out. Nope, it wasn't. Just looking for a red or a green. Okay, I think that might be one. Nope.
It's not too far from the end, right?
Yeah, there should be one there. That's green. And then, yeah, and you can't select them. Oh, okay, I'm way at the edge there. That's the center.
1, 0.
Told you not to put so many elements.
There it is.
There,
Yeah, they're very dark colors. And brighten them up. But yeah, just blend a few of these soft guys together and you get that nice little rainbow. Yeah, any other questions?